Yo, it's me, CSCOTT, baby. I'm back with my review of the 2019 film, Captain Marvel, starring Brie Larson, Samuel L. Jackson, Annette Bening, how's his name? Ben Mendelsohn. Jude Law, and it's directed by Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck. They need to put this on the freaking read them. Alright, so we're on to Captain Marvel. One of the entries that is controversial, not because of the content of the film, but because the lead actress has said thanks. I'm not gonna go into those things because I do not know those things, but apparently this is a feminist movie. I don't see it. It's because Brie Larson herself is sort of a feminist type person. Doesn't mean you should hate this movie. Yes, it's a female-led film. Nobody said anything about Wonder Woman, but everybody's bashing this because of who the lead actress is. Not to say it's it's a great movie. It's okay. It's not the best. It's certainly not the worst. But I've seen people, I'm talking about tier lists. I've seen people put this in the bottom. And it's like Thor Ragnarok, or Thor the Dark World, and Iron Man 2. And I can only justify that as to the fact that they don't like the lead actress. And that's fine. You got problems with her, but don't rate the movie based on that. This movie is set in the 90s, which I was all ready for. Other than Blockbuster and a 9 Inch Nails shirt that she wears and some of the music, they don't utilize that well. Like, Take Me Home Tonight. That movie utilizes the 80s very well. Clothes, the way people talk, the way things look. You see shows like that, 70s shows, utilize the 70s very well. They go back to the 90s, and there's just very little. And it's basically the story of Carol Danvers, who has been living the past few years of her life under the name Veers. Veers? Which, okay, so I watch movies with the subtitles on. And even after it's revealed who she is and what her story is, right, in the movie, whenever she talks, the subtitles still have her as Veers, whatever. V-E-R-S, Veers. Because that's all that the Kree found when they found her, was half of her dog tag. V-E-R-S, Veers. Actually, it's Vers, but still. And, yeah. So, yeah. And she's been living with the Kree for, 5 years, not knowing who she was. And yeah, so the whole thing about this, like I said, was that there was controversy because of some things that Brie Larson said. I don't care. I want to see a movie, I'm not about to hate on someone for something that they said. I've said this multiple times, various different movies. I don't care what the actor did in real life. I care about the performance they give me in the film. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Brie Larson. I don't care if it's Corey Feldman. I don't care if it's Victor Salva, the director. I don't care who it is. They give us a good performance. They give us a good film that they directed. It doesn't matter what they did in real life. I'm not here to talk about actors or directors' personal lives. I'm here to talk about the films that they direct or make, act, or star in. Alright? That's what I'm here for. You want controversy, you want people talk about what other people certain did, you go to a different channel. I'm here to talk about movies, because that's what I love to talk about, is movies and TV shows and stuff like that, alright? So I do not give two poo-poos from my butthole about what Brie Larson said, alright? On the plus side with this film, the CGI work they do with Samuel L. Jackson turning a 70-year-old man and make him look like he's all the way back in Die Hard with Vengeance. Ooh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. They do the same thing with Clark Gregg, although I don't really know if you even needed to make him look younger, but he's really a cameo anyway, and they only use him really to show that the Skrulls are real. And there's like a scene where Samuel L. Jackson's with a Skrull who he believes to be Coulson, and then Coulson radios him saying, "Sir, you left me here? You left me behind?" And yeah, that's really all it was. Ben Mendelsohn plays the alien, the Skrull named Talos. But he's also the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. at this point. Like, the character he plays takes the form of Fury's boss, who's also played by Ben Mendelsohn. But we never really get to meet that character because he's always it's always the Skrull taking his place. But it says that he took, control, that he took the identity. So there's a real version out there somewhere. There's a twist here that I didn't see coming. And when I first saw this, I wasn't sure what to think. Because all the versions of the Skrulls I've seen have been ruthless killers. Like the Fantastic Four animated series, there are ruthless killers. And if they bring the Fantastic Four into the MCU, I think it'll be hard. Unless there is a, second group of Skrulls that are evil. There could be two different, versions of the alien race. Side that are good, like Talos and his crew, which that's revealed that they're actually the good guys, and they create the bad guys. And then there could be evil ones, which could create the Super Skrull, which have the powers of the Fantastic Four. Yeah, I wasn't mad that they were portrayed differently. I was just confused. But I do like the way they had with them. The one thing I asked myself going into this is, because this takes place in the 90s, and they have Ronan the Accuser, who was the main bad guy of Guardians of the Galaxy. How are they going to switch it from the Kree supposed to being the good guys to being the bad guys? Is this how they became evil? Well, apparently they were already evil. And they were lying to Virus the whole time. No, I'm calling it Carol. Because for some reason in these movies, you can't go by your superhero names. Unless it's a joke made by Spider-Man. I understand they want to be realistic, right? They go Clint or Carol or Peter or Tony or Steve. I didn't mention this in my video review, but he's like, this is my friend. When Thor arrives on Earth, he's like, Steve's like, you cut your hair. I see you copy my beard. This is my friend the tree. I am Groot. And then Captain America goes, I hate that. Captain America goes, I am Steve Rogers. I love that because it's just like, I am Steve Rogers. Yeah. And what they do with Fury, Nick Fury. If you've seen Hot Tub Time Machine, you kind of know this technique where you know that something has happened to someone in present time. And you're waiting to see how it happens. And they tease you throughout the entire movie. Like, for instance, in Hot Tub Time Machine, there's a guy that they meet in 2010 that has one arm. So when they're back in the 80s, they're waiting for him to lose his arm. Here, it's Nick Fury, and he's got both his eyes. And you know, eventually he's going to lose his eyes, and they tease you constantly about him losing his eye. And he says, in Captain America Winter Soldier, he says, the last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye. I think this is the only thing in the film that they dropped the ball on. Nick Fury loses his eye because of a cat, technically a flirkin, but he does pick up the cat and say, I'm going to trust you to not hurt me, or something like that. And the cat scratches him in the eye, and he's like, it's okay, you'll be fine. It's just a scratch. And Talos is like, apparently that severely damages his eye to the point he needs an eye patch. I don't know. I know they're trying to be funny, but I think they could have been more serious with that. We've been waiting for how many years? 10 years? 11 at this point? To find out how he lost his eye. And it's a throwaway joke with a cat, flirkin, whatever. As well as the Tesseract, by the way, because this whole thing is about finding a power source. The power source that gave Carol her powers back in 1989. Turns out the power source is the Tesseract. How did it go from being fished out of the water by Howard Stark to being in the hands of Mar-Vell, or Lawson, as her name was, portrayed by Annette Bening? It's very strange. Yes, S.H.I.E.L.D. could have loaned it to him, but Fury didn't even know what it was. Which kind of contradicts that. You'd think at least by the 90s he'd have been in charge. But he's just another agent. But the way he talked to Pierce, Robert Redford's character in Captain America, in Winter Soldier, it seemed like he had been in charge for quite a while. But Pierce was maybe he'd only become recently in charge before the events of Iron Man. We got another thing to talk about towards the end of this film. But yeah, there's this big space fight, and she fights Jan Rog, I think his name is, which is I can't forget his name. Jude Law's character's name. And everybody, he's Mar-Vell. Nope, the twist with that too. He's actually a bad guy. And there's a fight between them. The only problem I have is that I hate in movies when people have powers and they have to come up with a reason. Oh, their powers need to be suppressed. So we put this thing on their neck for almost the whole movie so their powers are suppressed. I hate that in superhero movies. Why do you do that? Your character is going to be OP? I don't care. You have Thanos out there tearing the hell out of people in Infinity War and Endgame, even without the stones. And he has been unhindered since before this MCU even started. Think about that. But because she is OP, you got to put the thing on her neck so she's hindered for most of the film until the climax when it's time to take it off. And she breaks it off, she gets her full powers. I understand that maybe might not wanted to have her full powers throughout the film. But you put this on her neck as a plot point that eventually she's going to break free of it. I don't like that. Because, she uses her powers at the beginning when she's on the Skrull ship. That's when it should have broken. And then her rest of her journey in the film is when she had to control those powers. Let them go out of whack. That she can't control them. It makes sense. She's on Earth. She can't control her powers. S.H.I.E.L.D. comes along and starts trying to study her. But she trusts Nick Fury. And she can't control her powers. And then by the end, she has that one-on-one with the Great Intelligence. And then she controls her powers. That's what you can do. You don't need to hinder her for the entire film. I hate that. It's just a plot point so that she doesn't have her full powers till the climax when it suits your story. And I don't like that. I've seen it in so many different freaking films that, they're hindered and then finally they're going to have the full powers by the end of the film. I understand she's supposed to be the most powerful Avenger, but think of this. She gets her powers from the Infinity Stone, right? So does Wanda, and she hasn't had her powers hindered since she was created. Same thing with Quicksilver, and he wasn't into much. That's my point. You hindered her powers, but not Wanda's powers. Thanos has been unhindered from the beginning. I mean, come on. It doesn't make sense. I know the Kree wanted to keep tabs on her, wanted to control her powers. I understand that. But it's just a plot point for your film so that she can be under control until the climax when you decide that's when she can have her full power. And I hate that in movies. I hate that, you release your full power. Think of this. X-Men. Apocalypse. As bad as that movie is. Jean was struggling with her powers. And finally, she was told, let loose. In the climax of that movie. And they didn't have to hinder it. She just didn't know how to control them all the way. People feared her. That could be what they do. Is that the Kree were afraid of her because she couldn't control her powers. And that's what you could have done. Yes, it would have been too much like that, but still, it would have made more sense than having this thing on her neck as a plot point to eventually have it break and release her powers in the climax. It just makes me mad. So, I told you basically everything except for one thing. How the Avengers got their name. Yes, they reveal that here. Because Fury's at his desk, and he has a thing pulled up, and it says the Protector Program. Or the Protector Initiative. And he looks down at a picture of Carol with her jet, and on there, it shows her call sign is Avenger. You didn't need to put that in there. Because you're basically telling us that the whole idea for the Avengers came because of her. That's what this whole movie is trying to tell us, is that Nick Fury started his look for the Avengers because of her. But it doesn't answer the one important question. Why wasn't she called when the attack on New York happened? Why wasn't she called when Ultron happened? Why wasn't she called before the end of Avengers Infinity War? When all this bad stuff is happening around the world, that they showed that the Avengers are responsible for the damage caused by this. Why wasn't she called during all this stuff that's going on? For how many years? 30 years? Why wasn't she called? The correct answer, the right answer would be, she wasn't thought of yet. In our world answer. The answer in here is just, wrote off in Endgame as, there was more important things to do. I'm sorry, but to her, maybe. But I think Fury, because she rigs this pager to call her. I think he would have used it more than one times. I think he would have used it in each and every one of these situations. At least the Avengers ones. And the only reason I can think of that he didn't is because they didn't have her in mind to be part of the universe until later. And it affects things greatly when you really think about it and how she could have been a help. A big help in other things. Which is why it's confusing when they go back and they make this. Captain America, the first Avenger, makes sense for him to be in the 40s. That's where he's from. You put her in the 90s and it just confuses a lot of things as to why she wasn't around for some of the big stuff. Especially the Avengers movies. Civil War? Sure, that wasn't big enough for her. But come on. The Avengers movies, those were world ending. She could have came in and blew that thing in Sokovia to fucking pieces. Think about that. Instead of people sacrificing their lives and there being so much damage, she could just fly in, blow that big island in pieces. There'll be pieces falling all over the place, but it wouldn't be as big damage as what was caused beforehand. She could have been a big help in all the Avengers movies, but she wasn't. And there's no single solitary reason ever given as to why she wasn't, other than, oh, I was needed somewhere else. That's not a reason. It's Marvel trying to cover their ass. Just saying, oh, she was somewhere else when all this happened and couldn't be bothered to come help us. It would hurt her character more than it already is if you said that, if you just told us that Fury tried to call her all those times and she wouldn't answer because she was busy somewhere else. I get that. I get it. But you don't even go that far other than say, oh, she's been busy. They just write it off. You know? She could have been a big help in all the Avengers movie. I'm just saying. I had one more thing left to say. I forgot what it was. The Flerken puked up the cube. Because it swallowed the Tesseract because they needed some way to carry it. Which I guess putting it in a lunchbox. You could carry it in a lunchbox, I guess. I don't know. But then the Flerken swallows it. And then it spits it out in the post-credit scene. Yeah, but yes, like I said, she could have been a big help in a lot of things. And the fact that, I didn't mention this in the Infinity War review, but Fury is one of those that gets dusted. And I think that's a mistake. He should have been around to explain to the Avengers why she wasn't there. Because we never get a solid reason as to why she wasn't there other than she couldn't be bothered to be there. That's the only thing I can come up with. If Fury had survived the dusting, he could have given an excuse. He's like, I called someone. I don't know. It just confuses me. Captain Marvel's going to get a 7 for me. I enjoy it, but there's some glaring stuff. I remember what I was going to say now. There's going to be a Captain Marvel 2. It should take place in modern times, 2025, whenever after Endgame. That's when it should take place. Don't say there's another period of time. Don't say, oh, it's going to take place in 2002 or anything like that, because you're just going to confuse people more and more as to why she was on Earth in 2002 and yet nothing. Just have it be in modern time. Because we need scenes with her connecting with the modern versions of her friend and her friend's daughter. Now, I think it's a big mistake. They've announced that the modern version, like the current version, of Monica Rambeau, that's the daughter of her friend, is going to be appearing in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Why? Why are you putting her in that movie? I understand it's a cinematic universe. You want characters to cross over with her. That's fine. But she should not appear again until Captain Marvel 2. Captain Marvel 2 should be Captain Marvel 2 first. Then start putting her in other things. Because we need to have that reunion scene between them when she's older. Alright? We need to see that. And don't do it where it says, oh, she's already seen her off screen. That's bullshit. We need the reunion scene. We need her to see her as older. Alright? I'm just saying. So yeah, Captain Marvel gets a 7. So what are your thoughts on Captain Marvel? Favorite line? Don't really have one. Other than, I'm going to trust you. I don't really have one from this, but these ones are, the last few are kind of hard to trigger, because I haven't watched them as much as the other ones, so figure out, I should say. But yeah, 7 out of 10. So what are your thoughts on Captain Marvel? Leave in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.